Hi guys, it's Kelly Latevola here and I'm back with another video for Neat and Tangled. Today we're going to be doing a super clean and simple card. I'm showing you the radiating stencil die, but I'm already lying to you right out the gate because I didn't use it. I am actually using the Hello Winter set and then the Medallion Builder Dies. I showed you the stamps because you can do this technique with the stamps. It would just be, it would just look a little bit differently. So I'm starting by cutting, I'm cutting a lot. I'm cutting a lot of dies. Aren't you proud of me? So I'm using the full-size medallion dies on the green glitter paper. I am using the small and the medium circle dies on the red. And then I use the more detailed dies on white cardstock because I wanted to be able to add some dimension to them. If you wanted to do this with the stamp set, you could stamp the more detailed one on top of just the solid image and then, I don't know, emboss it with like a glitter embossing powder. And that would work just as well. For the berries or even the leaves, you could use stickles if you wanted glitter and didn't have glitter paper. I know it's kind of hard to come by right now for some reason. Probably because it's the holidays and it's selling out super quick. In order to add the dimension to the detailed die cuts, I actually just put some Tombow multi-glue on the back of them and then stuck them just temporarily. Tombow multi-glue is repositionable if you stick it down after it dries. The first one gave me a little bit of problems, but the rest of them stayed in place really well. And then I'm adding my shading with Copics just because that's my go-to, but you could absolutely add shading with pretty much any medium. Colored pencil, distress ink, or oxides would be super fast to add any kind of shading. And basically I'm just covering the whole thing in my lightest color, which is emerald green, G05. And then I'm adding some darker shading from the outside, or from the middle to the outside edges. Why can't I even explain what I'm doing today? I don't know. And I left in all of the boring parts trying to make this video somewhat longer because by the time when I edited it without leaving in like the parts like this where you just watch me do the same thing over and over again, it was like 4 minutes long. And because this is just, it's such a quick and simple card and I love that. I think a lot of people who maybe haven't followed me for a long time like think of me as building scenes or like really detailed, but I actually started out as a clean and simple card maker. That's my favorite style of card to make if I'm not making a scene. So here, this is from the Hello Winter set. I love this. It's a large, bold, you could use this as a background. Just this can carry a whole card, and that's why I love it. And it's adorable. It says hot cocoa, snowflakes, soft socks, cold nights, and warm hearts. And I think it would be adorable for just like an invitation or maybe like a little date night with your significant other or inviting your girlfriends over. But so anyway, I'm going to be heat embossing this on Desert Storm cardstock, Nina Desert Storm. And I treated it with my embossing buddy, and then I am going to stamp in Versamark ink. This thing is crooked, yo. So that just goes to show you that even if you own a stamp positioner tool, that is not, you still have to check to see if your stuff is straight. Mine wasn't, and I'm not doing this again. I knew I was going to trim it out, and I was like, I'll just trim it so it's straight. So I'm using Simon Says Stamp White embossing powder. And then I'm going to heat set that until it is melted. Somebody had asked me previously, like how to avoid warping. Make sure you're heating your gun up before you're taking it to the paper. That will help with the warping. If you do get some, try heating the back of the paper. If you still can't get rid of the warping, put it between a heavy book, like right in between the pages and let it sit for a little bit, and that'll take care of it. I have some just white fun foam that I'm going to pop this up on the center. And I showed you the radiating stencil die, because I thought I was going to do a red background. I really like craft and red together. It was just way too busy for me. That's all. So I just set the background aside and I'll use it for something else. I'm using a pencil to kind of trace the edges of the squares where I know I want to put I'm calling them leaves now because that's what I'm trying to create here. Some, little holly berries. And so I just put those pencil lines down so I wouldn't have to worry about where, like if it was going to cover it or what it was, if I was putting them in the right position to go underneath my sentiment. I would know because I have the little cheater lines there. So I'm putting these down with the Tombow Mono Multi Glue, and it does give you some grace, which is one of the reasons why I use this particular adhesive. So here, I didn't like the way that the top right leaf was adhered, so I'm just going to turn it. I'm just going to scooch it over, and because it gives you that little bit of drying time, it works really, really well to be able to move things around. I'm going to go ahead and adhere the sentiment down now because the next part of it is actually going to go on top. So I was talking about, you know, creating that dimension. And don't get me wrong, I love the glitter leaves. Like, oh, I love all things glitter. Glitter it all. What did my son tell me the other day? I was making a card. He told me it was glitterific, which he's for. I don't even know where he heard that. But anyway, so for the detailed dies, what I wanted to do was I wanted to kind of layer them on top of the glitter. So part of it is going to be glued down to the actual Desert Storm cardstock. But in order for it to be stable, I have to put on the world's tiniest pieces of foam tape. So it did take a little bit of patience to kind of trim them out and get them into the right place. But I really feel like the effect was worth it. Plus, I mean, this card took me like 45 minutes. And comparative to most of the cards I make, that's no time at all. So now I did put the Tombow Mono Multi Glue on the part that will be stuck to the Desert Storm. And for this first leaf, I did adhere it almost directly on top of the glitter leaf. But for the next one, I'm going to spare you watching all of this trimming of these little teeny tiny parts. But I am going to adhere this one just kind of off from the glitter leaf. So they looked good either way, just whatever you're kind of into to, you know, create that dimension. Now I did cut out 2 of the medium circles and 4 of the smaller ones, but I actually only ended up using 2 of the smaller ones. So for the largest circle, I adhered that to the Desert Storm. And then for the other 2 circles, I'm actually going to slide them underneath. So it looks like there's like 3 berries instead of just 1. And I'm only going to do that on the bottom left. For the top right, it just seemed a little bit too busy to have that many berries. So I just went with the 1. Because I felt like, I don't know, it just looked better that way. However, speaking of looks, I felt like the card needed something. And, you know, I'm risking it because everything's adhered down. I'm done with it. But I'm not happy with it. And so the way that I'm going to try to kind of pull the whole thing together, which I ended up loving, and I'm not surprised because I love framing things in on my cards. But even though it's going to take me a little bit more time, I am going to go in with a pencil first. I've decided that I'm going to draw a frame around my sentiment to tie everything together and just make it look more cohesive. But I am doing it with a pencil first because everything is glued down. I don't want to have to, you know, pull everything off or cut everything again or do any of that. So the one way that I'm making sure everything is straight is this grid paper in the back. So I always have the grid paper in the back. Sometimes it's just a, you know, backdrop that's easy to peel off and pitch. And sometimes it's actually useful. This is one of those times it's actually useful. I am making sure that my card is lined up straight because this is a T-square ruler, but I can't use the T-square because I already have die cuts popped up, adhered. It won't lay flat. So I'm making sure the card is straight on the grid paper, and then I can match my ruler up to that same grid paper, and everything is going to be straight. And actually, I discovered that this last line here, was crooked in my pencil marks because I wasn't doing that. I wasn't taking that time. So this is the completed card. I did just want to very quickly mention, if you're watching on YouTube, Neat and Tangled has a retirement sale that's going on. I will link that below in YouTube. They have a lot of really great sets that are super, super cheap right now, just to make room for some up and coming designs in the new year. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.